Okay, thank you for joining me. My name is James. I work for the British University in Egypt, and I'm not going to give you an orientation about the university. If you want to learn more about the university, you can obviously come and find me afterwards or go to our booth and have a talk about the university there. I am indirectly going to talk about the university by actually trying to add some value to your day. So rather than give you a sort of sales pitch, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some stuff that I think might be useful for you in the future. Okay, so this talk is about some personal and professional development. And it is something we are good at the BUE. So this is why, or the British University in Egypt, which is why I'm going to talk about it. So, firstly, I will show you the university slogan. So our university slogan is learn how to think, not what to think. The important aspect of this is that this is what university in the UK at least used to be about, very much about. So the idea of going to university is not to just soak up lots and lots of information that you can regurgitate. It's for you to actually learn how to be able to solve problems, how to be able to interact with the world, how to be successful by your own definition, how to solve problems. So it's not just about being told what to think, It's about learning how to think for yourselves, how to have some agency, That's important. And that's what university really, really should be about, okay? So, I'm going to dispel some myths here. This is my resume, basically. I've broken it down into just titles of jobs I've had. And I've had a pretty interesting career, I think. I think I've been reasonably successful by my own definitions at least. But I started out at school, I did the IG, I did some A-levels, managed to get onto a doctorate program, and I graduated as an engineer. So I spent the first part of my life working in the steel industry as an engineer. I then took a break and I ended up getting into some bike racing, ended up racing bikes. I ran a bike racing team, very serious athlete for a period of time. And then I ended up moving back into consultancy. And I ended up then working in international recruitment. And ultimately, I became a professor in business. So the point of me showing you this is that I want to show that your pathway through your life is not as linear as you think it's going to be. The decision you make at university does not fix you into one box for the rest of your life. And it particularly won't do that if you've got a good portfolio of skills. So for me, it's not so much about the technical competence I got at the beginning of my career in engineering, although having a PhD in engineering has helped, but it's been more about the skills that I developed at university and I continue to develop throughout my life that have allowed me to do lots of different jobs and be quite good at them all as well. And those skills are what they sometimes call the soft skills. But I'll tell you now, that is the thing that will set you apart from the next person. Lots of people will graduate with a degree in mechanical engineering, or a degree in political science, or a degree in anything. The thing that sets you apart are all the other skills that you need to develop alongside that. And it's important that you take that opportunity at university to develop those skills as well. So, since we've got a small crowd, let me ask you, what does success look like to you? Anyone want to give me a shout out? Define success. There's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong here. Just define success. So consistency about something you want. So a consistent goal or challenge, yeah? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else want to tell me what they think success is? Happiness in what you're doing. Very good. Anybody else? Anybody else? This is something you need to get used to at university. Yeah, and a good skill to have is being able to actually speak up. This is important. Being able to stand up on a stage and give a presentation. Trust me, if you want that fancy job, you want to be the CEO, you're going to have to be able to do this. Okay? It's early days, so it's okay. I'm surprised nobody said money, but the thing about success is it's up to you. There isn't a right or wrong, yeah? But I'll tell you about some of the things that I have had from my own personal experience that have helped me be successful, and I know help lots of other people become successful. And those are obviously the kind of things that also employers want. And interestingly enough, the kind of things that employers want are actually often the kind of things that people need to start their own businesses and to be successful entrepreneurs as well. So don't think that those two things are necessarily terribly different. The only slight issue you have is the fact that a lot of organizations, they kind of tell you they want entrepreneurs, they want imaginative, creative, out-of-the-box thinkers, but actually they kind of want those people in their upper management, but they kind of don't want them at a junior stage, and it's a bit of an issue. So often those people don't get cultivated into or allowed to be those kind of people early enough in their career or with an organization. So your choice of organization is important as well. But let's suffice to say, going to university is about learning a selection of skills and competencies. Those will vary. I've said technical skills here, but the nature of those technical skills obviously varies depending on what subject you're studying. For engineering, it may be thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, strength of materials. For political science, it will be another array of different elements, shall we say. So, but the skills that you need to learn are important, and that's obviously a big chunk of what you go to university for. The British University in Egypt provides that academic excellence. I'm confident of that. But on top of that, there are the other skills that you need to learn. And they're the things that as I said, will set you apart. They're the things that employers will want to see from you. And you will have probably seen all of this before, and it's the sort of thing that's talked about at schools. This idea of being able to work in a team, for example. The idea of being able to communicate. When I say communication, it's not just about languages, it's about actually being able to take a complex concept and describe that or explain that to somebody else who doesn't have the same technical level as you. It's important that you learn to lead or can lead in whatever organization, whether it's your own, if you start your own entrepreneurial business, or whether you go and work for somebody else. People want leaders. They want people that can take charge and motivate people to achieve an ambition or a goal. You'll see things like resilience, toughness. These are sort of things that get talked about. Emotional intelligence, problem-solving, creativity. Yeah, a good work ethic is also important. So, again, these are the kind of things that you should pick up at university as well. So as well as all that technical stuff, as well as getting a good degree, at university, and you will do this to some extent in your lectures and by fulfilling deadlines and doing your assignments, you'll have to work in teams at times. You'll have to develop a good work ethic to be successful. But clubs and societies are really important. And British universities are really famous for having lots of clubs and societies. Same in the US. And that's actually where you develop a lot of those skills. So it's important to find a university that you're comfortable with. And again, British University kind of prides itself on having lots of clubs and societies where people cultivate these kind of skills. We run lots of student ambassador programs where, again, students can develop these kind of skills. If you go to our booth today, and in fact I've got a couple of my colleagues here, we've got students here that are developing skills in communication, developing skills in negotiation, marketing, leadership, teamwork, by spending time actually working with us as an intern, in effect. But the clubs and societies, that extracurricular, co-curricular work is really, really important part of being at university. So as I said, those employer needs are the same sort of things you would develop or need as an entrepreneur. The only other thing to remember, though, is that organizations may well want to sculpt you. And this is what I was saying. You may be a super creative, super imaginative individual, and you may have your own ambitions and plans. The issue is whether or not that aligns with the organization. Like I said, they often want entrepreneurial kind of people, but not when you're junior. And that's a bit of a juxtaposition, because ultimately they need to cultivate you through their organization. So it's really important. So this is just general life advice. Find people and organizations that match your set of values. It's not easy to do, because a lot of organizations will write their values and their mission statement on their website. That isn't necessarily the truth. Their espoused values are not necessarily the same thing as the values that they actually live by. So trying to understand what the organization you're going to work for is truly like is far more challenging. But it's well worth doing, okay? And I know this seems like a long way away for many of you, but you're presumably lining yourself up or thinking about your careers by going to university. And therefore you are thinking about kind of what kind of industry you might go into. And you must be thinking about possibly what kind of companies you might want to work for. So it's worth already starting to get your head around some of these concepts. So I would normally go on and give a lecture on power and leadership, but I don't believe I have time for that today. So I'm going to skip through. Oh, I would have skipped through to this stripy page. This is the page. Which has now disappeared. But anyway, to cut a long story short, if you would like to speak any more to me, I'm going to be around. We have lots of people here today that are willing to have a chat with you. And so just take the opportunity to find out more. I'm just going to double check my timing. How much time have I actually got left? Do I actually have more time? Okay. In that case, for those of you who want, I'm going to give you a bit more lecturing. Can I go back to the beginning? Please. That's okay. That's okay. Right. Can I go back 2 slides? I don't know what the clicker only goes one way. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I talked to you a little bit about the soft skills and the value of soft skills or core skills or personal and professional skills, whatever you would like to term them as. Okay, so I have historically taught leadership. So I taught leadership in engineering schools, I taught leadership at the Edinburgh Business School, I've taught to lots of MBA students, and I use obviously my own experiences, the experiences of others, which is grounded in academic theory, okay? Which is what an academic is supposed to do, okay? So I'm going to reference here some pure academic theory, okay? And I'm going to try and summarize what would normally take many hours of lectures and just try and give you, again, some interesting little bits of background information. So talking about leadership, so leadership was my area. Okay, so if you think about the kind of leaders you want, yeah, try and keep that in mind as I'm talking to this. So the first traditional form of leadership I'm going to talk to a few areas here, is transactional leadership. And leadership is something you're going to need to get your head around, as I said before. So in terms of transactional leadership, this is the idea of giving reward, yeah? Or effectively punishment in return for a job being done. Okay, so it's effectively a transaction. Somebody does something for you, you return something. And this is common in all jobs. Yeah, it's basically paying somebody a salary. So most of you are going to want to work for money at least. But it doesn't just have to be money, but it is the exchange. Yeah, so this idea of transaction, again, is a fundamental tenet of all leadership, actually, because there's always some sort of exchange. It's very, very effective, and most of you will have jobs in your life which are based purely on this, unfortunately. Okay, and if you have to resort to this as a leader, it's unfortunate, but it is very, very common. Transformational leadership is a much more contemporary theory. Okay, and again, this idea is based on the idea of starting to understand the motivation of individuals. So this is more than just paying somebody, more than just a reward for doing something. But the idea is that you understand people's deeper motivations, and you can use that then to influence your followers towards a shared goal. Okay, so the idea is that you transform their thinking, basically. And again, this is becoming more and more commonplace. Again, things like mission and value are tools that are used in this space. But it is more time-consuming. It is more difficult to establish, and it relies on a certain amount of honesty and understanding of people's motivations. But it is quite effective. But again, it's still leader-focused. And then we start to move into the realm of proper contemporary leadership styles, so the idea of things like servant-based leadership. And there's lots of great stuff. On YouTube, actually, there's some great speakers that talk to servant leadership. It's actually still pretty rare, or rare to be recognized. There are lots of great leaders who adopt it quite naturally, but they don't often talk about it. And this is the idea, and this is quite hard conceptually for some people to get their head around. The idea that actually, as the leader, you're actually the servant of the people that you follow. Your focus, your function is actually to protect them and to help them develop, help them grow. So this takes it on a whole number of notches, because you're into the realm of really having to understand the motivation of your followers. It's very time-consuming. It involves usually adopting other techniques of leadership alongside it. But if you can do it, you can develop it's highly effective, and you can develop really strong loyalty from your team, from your people. But it involves a lot of investment as an individual. And sorry, I still need to go back one. What it is also follower focused. And the reason I've just mentioned this leader membership exchange, this is just a fourth leadership theory. This idea, I'm just going to summarize quickly, is based around the idea of a one-to-one, fundamentally. Yeah, you've heard of this concept of having one-to-one meetings. Well, that's where you actually get to figure out the motivations of individuals. So spending time as the leader with every single person in your team allows you to fully understand them. Yeah, and for you to share your values, to share your motivation, so that you can actually have that combination then, I guess, of the servant leadership, the transformational leadership, and ultimately you will still have some of that transactional stuff, assuming you're paying that person as well. And again, we're moving away from the traditional leadership, which was very much focused around the leader, into the realm of leadership that's focused around the follower. Okay? Like I said, there's lots of really good material available out this. There's a chap called Simon Sinek, talks about this sort of stuff. Very, very good on YouTube. He does a lot of work with military organizations and looks a lot and has come around to the same areas of thinking around servant-based leadership, even in that context, which is really interesting, as opposed to a purely academic route. So yeah, that's all I've got time for today. Like I said, that's just a very brief glimpse at a tiny little part of personal and professional development. But there's lots and lots to think about outside of the academic, technical part of your degree. So just remember that. And make sure you find a university. Go and visit all of the booths. Make sure you find a university that resonates with you. Yeah? That you feel can build you into the kind of person that you want to be and allow you to achieve your goals. That's really, really important. And go and visit all of the universities. See them for yourselves. Speak to the students. Yeah? Spend a lot of time speaking to the students as well as the academics, because they will let you know what it's like to be a student there. Okay? So thank you for your attention. We're out there, so come and see us at the British University in Egypt. Thank you.